All right, so as we continue working on Mr. Mackey here, we are going to make it so that his right arm is draggable, and so we can pull it by the thumb without warping. And then we're going to do a swap set with these two left arms so that we can like quickly move up to make it look like he's waving. So the next process here, we're going to just go into here, and I would be best, of course, to turn off your alternate arm. So I'm going to turn this off in Illustrator and save. Then come back into Character Animator so that it looks right. Okay, so now we're dealing with arms. This arm is going to be a draggable arm. Now this is where this gets complicated. You do have to move the handle, this orientation point. You're going to take that point, or the origin handle, and pull it up. It should turn green and then connect to your character. Now, if for some reason it doesn't, click back on the layer of the arm, and up here where it says attach to, this usually should be set to auto, and sometimes it flips to the other. And if it flips to the other, that attach to could be your issue. So if it's attaching to a weird spot or it doesn't seem to work properly, you would mess with these things. Auto or even the attach style could be wrong. All right, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead, now that I've got that orientation or that origin handle moved, I'm going to go ahead and put in my dragger. So here's my dragger tool. I'm going to drop it in here. I want to be able to pick it up kind of by the thumb so that, you know, it drags properly. So I'm going to click that and put it there. When I go back to record, if I drag it, it should drag now by the thumb. It's going to kind of, you know, bend, which is good. And because I added the dragger on the thumb sort of stays up. Like if you add the dragger down here on the other part, it would, you know, like the hand might go inside out, so to speak. So let me go back in here, though, and we'll go ahead and add a stick or two so that it bends more at an elbow. So stick. That might not need to come down that far. And if you do need to edit those, you just take your white arrow there and scoot them. So, all right, back in here. Let's see what it looks like. There we go. So that bends more like an elbow. We're in good shape. Now, whenever you have a dragger over here in the record workspace, you can open up the dragger behavior and choose whether or not to hold it in place or let it to return back to where it went. If that's the case, when you move it, then it goes back. And however long you have in here, that's how long that will take. So if I make it a half second, now if I come up and wave and I let go, it gradually moves back into that position. Okay, let's go ahead and deal with the swap set for the arms. So on the left arms, and since we're not dragging it, it doesn't need to be a warp independent. It didn't need a plus sign. But it is a swap set. So in order to swap those out, one of them needs to be visible because that's the one you're going to use by default. Then you drag the group. So there has to be things grouped together to do a swap set. If they're not grouped, you can't do this. You don't just drag like one arm in. You drag the entire group in. So here comes in my whole group. When I come to my triggers panel, though, I have to go down to the bottom and tell it I want a swap set. All right, now I've got the swap set in there, and I'm just going to come up with a way to bend my arm. So I already have H for party hat. I would use that for like high, but I'm just going to use an X because I don't really have anything else to use right now. So now if I press X, it'll hold him up there like he's waving. You know, I could have done this where like he was putting his hands on his hips, you know, and had alternate arms that would do that, you know, or whatever. And again, same story with before. If I wanted to, I could set it so this trigger latches if I wanted to have that latch. All right, let's go back to our list of what we're doing. We've taken care of both of those. Now we're going to tag the 3 camera mouth shapes. So you probably didn't notice, but whenever I look at the camera and smile and stuff, it doesn't do anything. And the main reason for that is because this mouth is not tagged properly in Illustrator. I just called it hey, yay, and blay, or bleh, or whatever you want to call it. And so like my hey is just my normal mouth. Well, I didn't name these, the reserved names for these, or the tagged names for these. So I could come in here and rename all of those. But what you can also do is from within Character Animator, you can tag them in that rig workspace. So I'm up here. I'm going to find my mouths, click on each mouth, and then tag it over here on the right-hand side. So the hey mouth is my neutral mouth. I'm going to give that a click. My smile is my yay. Give that one a click. And my surprise is the bleh mouth. Okay. Now I'm going to come back in here, set my rest pose with my neutral mouth, and then try it. Okay, we're smiling, and then we'll do our ooh. And so that one comes my angry face. All right, so those are working now. Now, for this particular example, I didn't do all of the visings, so we don't have all of these other mouths. But if I added them, they would go in here with these, and then I would just group them in the group with the mouth. So if I wanted to have those so I could lip sync it, they just all go in here also. In this particular instance, though, we're not going to do that. Okay, that takes care of the mouths. Now, our bigger problem, which you're probably still seeing now, is when we move around, the eye is not doing anything. So that's kind of a problem. So the reason for that, well, number one, we only have one eye. And, you know, like in real life, we have multiple eyes. We have a left and a right. Well, this one doesn't. And so these were not tagged like right pupil or, you know, right eyeball or right blink. They're just blink, pupil, and eyeball. So we got to map those. So again, I could go back into Illustrator and rename. I'm not going to, though, because we do have eyes over here in the map. So the blink is the line, like that. The pupil, of course, is the circle in the middle. And then the eyeball itself would be the white part around right eye. That should take care of that. Now, this is going to act crazy, so don't freak out. Here I go. I'm going to set my rest pose, and I'm going to blink. Okay. That's all good. The blink works. However, when I look around, the eye is just stretching and acting weird. And there's a reason for that. The eye is supposed to move independent of everything else, but I did not give that pupil in the eye a plus sign. So I'm going to pop back over here. I need to rename this with a plus sign in front because that's warp independent, which means it can move independent of the character. Otherwise, it's making that whole middle part stretch out. Okay, let's go back in. Now let's see if it moves around. I can't look and see. Let's set my rest pose. Okay. Is it going? I can't see. Anyway, hopefully it's going. But that's basically what you're going to do. You're going to make sure that the pupil is warped independent. Oh, I got to click it again. I guess after I changed it, it messed that up. Okay. There we go. Now we're moving around. Okay. Great. So, anytime those aren't working, just check and see on the tag map and make sure that they are tagged appropriately. All right, and so basically that's just the general gist of how to tag and make sure that everything works. We've got a balloon, we've got a hat, we've got a music note. Those are latched so they stay up there. We've got an alternate arm, and we can drag this arm around. When we let go of it, it drops. So there you go. There's just kind of the basics of Character Animator. Hopefully that helps you understand those a little bit better. Just remember that when you can do something in Illustrator, it often is easier to do it. But if you have most of your character done, like we did towards the end, a lot of times it's easier to just use the tags and so forth to re-tag things. Or if something's just not working right, be sure that it's tagged properly. Also, if you're clicked off of this, he doesn't respond to you. And if you need to edit and rig and it doesn't seem to be working, again, double click. And that usually will fix some of those problems. So the only other thing I didn't go over that I thought would be kind of interesting would be the dangle. I didn't add the dangle. So let me go ahead back into rig and we'll do that real quick. I have my horns up here at the top. I'm going to click on one of the horn layers. And again, you can zoom up. There is a magnifying glass in here so you can see better. I'm going to click on one of my horn layers. Again, you probably should move the origin point down where it should connect. It'll turn green. And then you can add your dragger. And this is going to make it sort of react to gravity, I guess you would say, or to motion. So when I click on there, I've got my little, not dragger, my dangler. I take my hand tool and scoot over here to the other side and click on the other horn. I'm going to move the origin point with the arrow into place. It's all connected. And again, it's connected. You saw over there, it said auto. And then I'm going to add my dangle up here at the top. And you can move it up even higher if you want to. So anyway, once I've got that in there, I should be ready to roll. If I come in here, these are kind of hard to see, so it might be better to zoom up a little bit. All right, now if I move my head, there you go. You can see his little horns are moving. So hopefully they're not hard horns because that would be awkward, right? All right, so there you go. There's some basics of getting started with adding triggers, behaviors, draggers, danglers, just all kinds of stuff in Character Animator.